Hi guys, welcome to my another video from Germany. Today I want to focus on the topic of Russians in Germany. You know, I am myself a Russian emigre living in Georgia for 2 years already, and in the course of my European journey I like to explore how Russians live in different countries. So I was quite surprised to see that there's such a big Soviet heritage in Berlin. I visited a Soviet monument and I learned that there are two opposite sides of Russians in Germany. Some of them support the Russian government and others are dissidents. So today I will be comparing both of these groups. We'll be visiting an event organized by Russians and for Russians in Berlin. Overall, this visit to Berlin was very educational for me, and now I want to share this all with you. So let's begin. Of course, I visited the remnants of Berlin Wall, a guarded barrier that separated West and East Berlin from 1961 to 1989 for quite a long time. I came to this very famous, the most famous picture of Brezhnev kissing some probably American president, but I don't remember. I made a mistake here. In fact, this mural depicts Leonid Brezhnev and a German communist politician Erich Honecker in a socialist fraternal kiss. It's a reproduction of a photo taken in 1979 during the anniversary celebration of the German Democratic Republic's foundation. I made this mistake because honestly, before visiting Berlin, I didn't know much about the history of the wall. I literally thought that it was just one concrete fence and I couldn't believe how it divided a whole city. But it was actually a big guarded structure, and over the years at least 140 people died trying to escape from the east to the west. Anyway, the wall is gone now and you can only buy its pieces in souvenir shops. I'm surprised to see that they sell pieces of the Berlin Wall as a souvenir for tourists. And here there are small ones, but also they have bigger ones for €9. So you can buy this piece of the wall and it costs like €1,300. There you go. And as my friend said, this is just capitalism in its purest form. The socialist leaders of the past would be so angry if they learned that the wall that once separated them from the capitalist West would one day be sold in pieces by those same capitalists. Maybe I should get one.
It's your best chance for a good citizenship in this life, probably.
Yes. You can also buy other USSR symbols there as evidence of a bygone era. At first I was surprised to see Soviet clothes and hats here, but honestly I have mixed feelings. I feel this embarrassment the same way as when in Tbilisi I see socks with Stalin sold in tourist area. Like, okay, I get it that it's interesting for people, but for me, seeing that the Soviet heritage is still not over in Russia and that people actually want to, some people in the government want to return it back, for me it is something interesting. But it's good that here the Soviet symbolics is sold only as a souvenir, as something from the past. And now let's visit another remnant of the USSR, the Soviet War Memorial, located in East Berlin. It was built to commemorate the Red Army soldiers who fell in the Battle of Berlin in 1945. It was strange to see a Soviet monument here. On May 9th, many Russians gather here to celebrate what in Russia is called Victory Day. This holiday was created to commemorate Soviet soldiers, but in recent years in Russia, this day has been perverted and exploited by the government, and instead of being a day of mourning, it became a celebration glorifying Russian military force and especially today's Russian army, dressing kids in military clothes, and so on. As you can see, the participants bring Russian and Soviet flags and the Putin invention St. George ribbon, which means that they also support today's Russian politics. These are people who haven't set foot in Russia for decades, or they've never been to Russia, but they still support Putin and vote for him at the Russian embassy. Honestly, I trade passports with them. But of course, besides Russian supporters, there are many dissidents in Germany. A prime example was the peaceful protest in March 2024, when people gathered in front of Russian embassies around the world to vote against Putin or spoil their ballots. This event, called Noon Against Putin, has been described as Navalny's political testament, as it was the last political statement by Russian opposition leader before his death in jail. In Berlin, the queue in front of the embassy stretched across several streets, and now I have the opportunity to see this place myself. We wanted to come closer to this building with the Russian flag, but I said that I feel safer farther from it, and actually it's so unusual to see Russian flag waving here freely. Like, I haven't seen this in Tbilisi or anywhere else since the war beginning. We still did come closer to the embassy because the memorial to Alexei Navalny is located here, and there are fresh flowers and photographs. Right now there is some rally going on, and I'm used to visiting demonstrations organized by Russian activists in Tbilisi, and here I thought that there is something similar, but by Russians in Germany, but actually it's a Ukrainian rally. There also were activists from Chechnya. There was their Chechen flag. So we've just found a school, and here it says in German and in Russian, "School by the Brandenburg Gates." Nowadays, a lot of Russian political activists and just dissidents like me moved especially to Germany. That's why I feel that the Russian anti-war opposition community is big here, the same as in Tbilisi, especially because a lot of journalists moved here, a lot of media that are now banned in Russia for opposing the government. They are based here, and I'm even going to visit one event organized by them, and there will be my favorite YouTube personality, Ekaterina Shulman. She is a Russian political scientist and also a professor, a writer, and Ekaterina Shulman taught in various very cool universities in Moscow, but she was forced to leave the country after the war outbreak, even though she didn't want to leave. But yeah, together with her children and husband, she moved here by some scientific scholarship. This is how the Russian government pushes active citizens out of the country. One way is to label someone as a foreign agent, and this is what happened to Ekaterina Shulman. Foreign agents are required to attach a disclaimer to all their publications, saying that they are being distributed by a foreign agent. Here's how it looks in their videos and texts. This foreign agent law, along with another undesirable organizations law, limits the work of civil activists and charities, even those not connected to politics, such as an organization helping women escape domestic violence, for example. And based on what Ekaterina Shulman and other Russians say about Berlin, it feels that Germany is very friendly to dissident Russians. I guess it's due to the fact that Germany also has unpleasant past, but is reflecting on it, and we Russians have to learn a lot from Germans in the future when we will be reviewing the atrocities of our governments, and that's why, I don't know, let me know in the comments if I'm right about this, but it feels that German people have more empathy and understanding towards Russian anti-war people. And also the recent prisoners exchange is one more example of this. How the German government made sacrifice releasing a criminal, a killer, in exchange for Russian political activists just saving people. And I know that many people in Europe criticized this exchange, but I think that it was for the better. It basically saved people who were kept in the Russian prison for their opinions. So yeah, thanks to Germany. But even in exile, Russian dissidents continue their efforts. So now let's join them at the event. So today I finally visited the event. Oh my god, I feel so happy and so many new emotions. First, when I was going to that place, I took a bus. When I was on that bus still, I was anticipating this event and I felt even a bit scared and very anxious, probably because it's so important for me. There were other people on the bus and I was like, they probably don't even know that I am here not a German person and I'm going to a Russian-speaking event. So I went to the restaurant. It was kind of a picnic, very green. There were many people. Essentially, the event was divided into three parts. One of them was a lecture by Armen Zakharyan, a famous YouTuber from Russia, and he makes videos about literature. And another lecture was something about Albrecht Dürer and art. And of course, the third one, that's what I came for, was the lecture by Ekaterina Shulman and her show's co-host Maxim Kurnikov, and it was about immigration that took over the power. So they told about Lenin and other figures of the Russian opposition in the beginning of the 20th century. And it's funny how at the first lecture there were almost no people because mostly everyone came there in the very end for the third lecture with Ekaterina Shulman. So I came there in the very beginning, and actually in the first hours of the event I was sitting on the 5th row, and I saw Ekaterina Shulman from my place, and she was sitting like in the first row. Honestly, it's so unbelievable, like, because she's my idol. I have been watching her videos since 2018. And even though until 2022 she lived in Russia, she gave lectures there, it was possible to visit like events with her, but if I lived in Moscow, and I never had this opportunity, so finally I'm here, I'm seeing her in real life. It felt like I'm watching a video again. So how I watch Ekaterina Shulman every week for several years already. Every Tuesday she is hosting a show, it's called Status. They discuss news from Russia and different political events, and I've been watching this show for like 4 years already, and it's a big part of my life and it really helps me. Initially it was a radio show, aired on the radio called Echo Moskvy, Echo of Moscow, but in the beginning of 2022, when Russia started the war in Ukraine, the government closed many opposition media, and the Echo of Moscow was one of them. Overall, Ekaterina Shulman has a big YouTube channel, and she also has a channel in English where you will find just amazing, very informative videos about Russia and autocracies, a very high quality political analysis. And also I wanted to say a couple of words about the people. Well, in Georgia I also saw a lot of Russian-speaking people. At some point it was mostly during the protest, anti-war protests that took place in Tbilisi. So the difference I noticed is that people in Tbilisi from Russia are mostly young people, and here on the contrary I saw like families or elderly people. I think that the demographics of Russians who comes to Berlin, it's different because it's mostly people who manage to find job in Germany or study in a university here, while people in Tbilisi are mostly freelance workers like myself, IT workers. they are very unlikely to be studying in a Georgian university or working in a Georgian company. So I would say that to immigrate to Tbilisi for a Russian is way easier than to Germany, and it feels that people here from Russia are more like of a higher status. That's why when I was comparing myself to them, I was like, oh, they're so smart, and like they come from Moscow, they studied in all these cool universities. An event like this is not a novelty for them, while for me it's like, wow, so many smart adult people here. And I also bought this merch. It is a reference to the Status radio program. I have another one. So here it says, this was a hard week. It's only Tuesday night because the program is taking place on Tuesday. That's why it's funny. I'm really glad that I bought this, and it was a very significant event for me today. I also forgot to mention that at that event I saw Ilya Yashin. He is a prominent Russian politician who spent 2 years in jail, and he was released during that historical prisoners exchange. And so there at the event he was signing books and taking pictures with people. I actually already visited some other European countries, including Portugal, and there Ekaterina Schulman also was touring with her lectures, and I visited another lecture there. It was about Stalin's constitution. Overall, I have made my conclusions about Russian diasporas. There are different people everywhere. Some of them support the Russian government, but I want to believe that this is the minority, and mostly people who moved to Europe from Russia had their reasons for this. And I'm glad that they have this opportunity to find asylum in different countries and continue their activity there. But of course, I should not be making such a video, because all these people have to have the right to be in Russia and continue their legal political activity there, not in exile. And I don't know for how many years this will be like this. Maybe Ilya Yashin and Ekaterina Schulman will live for 10 or 15 more years in Germany, and now I come to understanding that my future is in Europe as well. Now it became even clearer that there is no opportunity for me to return to Russia in the next many years. Anyway, this is the end of my video. Write your opinion in the comments. You can also support my channel by liking this video or by becoming my YouTube sponsor or patron. All the links are in the description. And my next video is going to be from Poland, so stay tuned. Anyway, thanks for watching and goodbye. Пока-пока.